Hi guys, welcome to the Gathering in Real Life podcast. I am not going to be the host today, but my name is indeed Melody Jawan. And what is your name?
My name is indeed Matt Kelly. I don't know why you said indeed in front of your name, but here we are.
Made it sound cool.
Melody is not feeling the best today, which is great because Melody's
That made me do this.
Melody's going to do the majority of the talking.
That's so true. I have my coffee here, so it's fine.
Yeah. What count number? Just for count.
I think 3.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, but
it's like 1:30 in the afternoon. That's fine.
I read in this, when you are really sick and you go into Google.
Yeah.
And you're like, how sick am I? So
Yeah.
I read in one of the articles from this random lady that I shouldn't drink caffeine if I want my voice to come back. And so here I am.
It's tea. Just drink tea.
Yeah, and I've been drinking. Emmy dropped off some tea for me.
Emmy is the best.
Yeah, and I drank the entire thing.
You're the best, Emmy.
Without any type of sugar or honey. I went straight tea, and it was just...
So are you one of those people, so this is not what we're kind of talking about.
Not at all.
Are you one of those people that you get on WebMD and you put in your symptoms and within 10 minutes you're convinced you've either had a stroke, an aneurysm, or you have cancer?
Kind of. But it only happens only if I look it up at 3 a.m. in the morning, which usually happens.
Let's move on to our icebreaker question for this week because we need to get on topic. All right. Maybe WebMD is the answer to this. If you could uninvent one thing in the world, what would it be? You got to uninvent it. That wasn't very good.
You always throw the card.
I hit the camera 3 episodes ago.
Wow.
It was pretty great.
If I could uninvent something.
Yeah.
So think of something awful.
Yeah.
You go first, right?
Sure. I'll go with pickles. Uninvent pickles.
Why?
Because pickles are disgusting.
Do you like cucumbers?
No.
So you just want to uninvent the entire vegetable itself?
Just burn it.
I'm talking about an invention, I guess a cucumber can be human grown.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was thinking more along the lines of skinny jeans.
I actually like that one.
Because so I know the Gen Zs and millennials are going crazy, and I just I'm annoyed.
Worship leaders everywhere are screaming at their...
Let's just be honest. I'm so annoyed at this whole fight because when did a Gen Z ever complain about this stuff? We don't care. Okay, that's my stuff.
But
are you a millennial?
Yes.
So I'm talking to you.
I don't claim it, but
Do you wear skinny jeans?
No. I'm too fat to wear skinny jeans.
Oh.
Just in basic name, no. But what I love about you, Melody, is you have gone the opposite. So funny story about Melody. We were ordering hoodies for the staff.
Oh, yeah.
And Melody and I are not the same size, okay? We're just not. We're just built differently, right? So
She's built different.
So I order an XL hoodie. Mel emails and goes, "Do you guys think 2XL would be too big?" And we're like, yeah, huh? Yeah, it'd probably be a little bit too big.
I like loose-fitting things, and which brings me to skinny
You could put 4 of you in a 2XL hoodie.
What I literally hate the absolute most, and I'm so sorry if I'm adding some people, is especially when they get skinny jeans and they don't cuff or tailor. They just let it bunch. What are those sock warmers? Do you know what I'm talking about? Or, no, leg warmers. Where they just bunch at the end.
What's a sock warmer?
And they wear a ballet flap. Listen.
All right.
It just irks me.
So we will not talk about skinny jeans anymore on this podcast.
Okay.
Maybe in a future episode we will bring in a skinny jean expert and you can interview them.
Perfect.
You guys can go back and forth
do that.
and just see what happens.
Yes.
All right. Well, here's what I'd like to do today. I think this would be kind of fun.
I don't even know what we're doing today.
Well, that's the joy of it. So, I know that a lot of times as when you're a worship leader, kind of you show up and you sing and you lead worship and all those things,
and then
right?
I'm deuces,
and you're I'm out. And I obviously, so we have different roles on Wednesday night and I communicate, you lead worship. So the students are pretty familiar with my story because I've shared parts of it at different times,
right.
And so they know all of it. But I think a lot of times when we have worship leaders, we don't really know your faith journey. What did Jesus how did all this come together? What is Jesus? Okay, if we're at that point, we need to change worship leaders.
What is Jesus in Mel's life?
But yeah, how did that? I know your dad's been in ministry for a long
Yes,
time. He's a
this is
true.
True.
You're a pastor's
I'm
kid,
a PK.
which makes you a giant rebel.
No, there's 2 types.
Oh, okay.
There's a rebel, and then there's one that will do anything. They're the perfect.
So which one are
child.
you?
Obviously,
The
latter.
rebel. Okay, sorry.
Throws a couple.
All right, so but I would maybe take 3 or 4 minutes and
Yeah,
just
you're
tell
gonna
our
time
students-
me.
Yes.
Frick.
set,
Okay,
go.
so, but what?
This isn't really running.
Okay, good. So my journey.
Emmy's gonna have to edit this a lot.
My journey starts obviously when I'm a kid because I grew up in a Christian household. My parents did not, though.
And your parents are immigrants, right?
Yes,
is that correct?
from Malaysia.
Yeah. From Malaysia, yeah.
So my dad was an architect, and then came to America to do school. Went back to marry my mom, and then they came to America, and he started his journey becoming a pastor. So awesome. I've always grown up in like a ministry family. I literally slept on pews. I ate all the communion stuff for snack after service. Like I did everything you can think of.
You unconsecrated the elements, is what you're saying.
Unintentionally. Just because I was starving, and because like we have to be there for like freaking morning prayer. And then worship practice, because my dad would also.
We're not anti-morning prayer, by the way. Just for the record.
I'm just trying to say that I was there for a long time. And then we had first service, and then we had Sunday school, and then we had second service. Like, are you kidding? I'm like, and then my dad talks like everyone is like the last person to lock up the door.
Yeah.
So like, I need snacks. So you would either do the animal crackers and you would dip them in apple juice. Okay, we're literally going off topic here, but anyways, that's my childhood. So I always grew up like knowing Jesus, loving Jesus, but never made the actual commitment. Right. It's just all I knew. But at the same time, which is like really weird, I don't talk about this a lot, but I used to have horrible nightmares. To literally the point where everyone would always die in my nightmares, and I remember my dreams probably 90% of the time. Wow. So I remember all of these nightmares, and I could not sleep. And so I think I really struggled with insomnia, truly, when I was like a really little kid. I would be up just all night, could not sleep, was terrified of closing my eyes. And there was one night where I'm about 6 at this point, so I'm an older child. At that point. And I'm just in the kitchen, just chilling on with the light on. And my mom comes out and she's like, "What are you doing?" And she didn't know that it was a thing I've been doing for probably years at that point. And basically, she talked to me about what's happening. I opened up and said I was having a bunch of like horrific nightmares. And she started singing this really, really old song to me, which the chorus goes, Lord, reign in me, reign in my heart, over all my dreams in my darkest night. You're the Lord of all I am, so won't you reign in me again? And it just clicked. I had no clue that the Lord could be in my life, let alone my dreams. And that like made such an impact on me. And I remember at that point, I was like, whoever wrote this song was inspired by the Lord to write these words. And I know, like, someone asked me, like, oh, so you're saying that you were saved over a song? Like, I know Jesus saved me and spoke through that song. But the guy who wrote it was just inspired to write it by the Lord. And I thought that was so interesting and so cool.
Well, God can use, like, what a silly thing to say. Oh, so you were saved by a song?
Yeah, that made me so mad.
God uses scripture. God uses creation. God uses speakers. He uses worship leaders. Literally everything to point us to Him. So that guy is a loser.
I think it was a dude. Anyways, so that's when I started my journey in music, because I was like, if music can do this in someone's life, I want to be a part of that.
That's awesome.
So that's like the beginning stage.
That's awesome. So how did you get to like ministry? Like, what did that track look like? Because I think there's a lot of our students that like God has done something in their life, but they don't really know what to do with it next. Like, and I think a lot of times we have like this kind of linear thing of like, well, if you're saved at an early age and you love worship, like worship leader, full-time work, you know what I mean? If you love students, like don't be a high school history teacher, go be a pastor, whatever. And I think there's a lot of times we like, hey, just lean into whatever God's leading you to. But like specifically for you, how did you like find your way? Like how did ministry become a thing?
Dude, okay, so obviously I was in ministry for so long, but...
Now when you say, hang on, because I think this is a cool point. When you say you were in ministry for so long, what do you mean by that?
So like both, like even when my parents were in ministry, I was just a part of it, whether I was like, I had any sort of responsibility, I guess. So I was always there at the church helping out with like papers. I was always there like babysitting. So let
me say this. Did they pay you for any of this?
No.
So you don't have to be paid and work at a church to be in ministry.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm just
No,
Just a thought.
absolutely. This is my first paying job actually in ministry, but I've done it and led worship since I was 13.
Yeah. Which is really cool for our students. I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but like,
Yeah.
if you're helping out in kids ministry, you're in ministry. If you're, leading worship on Wednesday night, you're in ministry. If you're talking to your friends about Jesus, you're in ministry. Like, there are so many facets. Like, everybody just thinks that, like, well, pastors, we minister.
Right.
Like, we're the professional ministers. And
Right.
people that are not on staff, and especially the world we live in now, are way more effective than you or I
Yeah, 'cause,
are working at a church.
Like pastors realize, which is why we have so many volunteers and so many
Yeah.
people as you come down the chain, because like you guys are the hands and feet of us. You know,
Yeah.
we can't speak to the students all the time, but you guys can. We're not in your schools, but you guys are.
Our responsibility, I kind of feel like, is just to charge you up. It's
Yeah.
just to like energize the followers of Jesus, but then help them to
sure.
remember and realize that what their mission and vision and direction that God's calling them to
Yeah.
is.
So basically, we didn't have a youth group when I was a kid, and we wanted to start.
Ministry.
Yeah, sorry. We had a youth group at that point. Anyways, so I wanted to start one, and I wanted to kind of mimic just like a whole worship set vibe. And so I, at 13, was asked to lead worship. And so we and a few other kids, my peers, we started this entire youth group. We started it, and it just became this like worship night. And it happened every Wednesday. We'd be in charge of almost like giving some sort of like inspirational message and things like that. We would just do it from the ground up. And that's when I started leading worship and feeling called to that. So
It's awesome. And then eventually it led down the road of going to college and pursuing, and now you're Melody Jawan on staff at the Summit Church.
I am indeed Melody Jawan.
Which is cool. But what I love about your story is you just responded to what God had wired you and gifted you. Like, music was obviously a talent of yours. It was a passion of yours.
It is, yeah.
And you just responded to that and went, man, how can I use that inside the kingdom within the context that I'm in now? Like, you didn't wait till you had graduated college and a church was like, hey, we got a job for you before you started ministry. You just looked around and went, man, how can I share what Jesus has done in my life with those around me?
Yeah.
And then God has just taken you on this really cool journey that has wound you up working at a church full time. But
it's crazy.
But that was like that wasn't the dream. The dream was, how do I take what God has done for me and invest that in other people, and then I'll just let God figure out the other details and where He takes me and what He does with me. And so I think that's what I love about your story, and that's the part I'd love for you guys as students to grab onto is, man, you don't have to wait till you're out of college. Like, there's never going to be a point. Like, I'm 35 and I'm still learning about how to do ministry and do it well. And so
we all are. We haven't reached any type of point, but
so there's never going to be like a check mark where you're like, man, if I just get to blank, then I will be able to start ministering to people. No, just find the context, find how God has wired you and gifted you, and just start leaning into that and trusting God to just figure out the details of where He'll take you.
Absolutely. So, what
Melody,
a good wrap up.
Thanks for fighting through. So I know.
Thanks for having me.
Alex is going to sing for you tonight. You just get to play keys.
Yes.
But you still get to lead worship,
That's
which
true.
is cool. So we're super grateful that you're part of our team, and I know our students love you. You're fine. You're fine.
I know.
You've been really mean to me today, though. She's been a little mean to me today. So
really funny.
We're gonna go have a Matthew 18 conversation, and if it doesn't go well, invite the elders in. We'll talk about that maybe next week.
Alrighty. Good segue.
Thanks for listening, guys. Have an awesome week. We'll see you next week.
Matthew 18.